111 years ago to this day marks one of the worst days in East Texas history. The black community in Slocum was gunned down and murdered. Many who survived fled to nearby towns, leaving behind their homes and their livelihoods. CBS 19's JJ Maldonado spoke with a descendant of one of the survivors and an author who's written extensively about the history in tonight's special report, The Slocum Massacre.
July 29th, 1910 was a day of bloodshed in Slocum, Texas.
In mobs ranging from dozens to hundreds went around killing African Americans on sight.
Newspapers from around the state and country documenting one of the worst days in East Texas history.
Starting on the 29th and going into the 30th and then residually into the 31st, mobs of white folks who cut the phone lines in the area. There were phones. They cut the phone lines so that the blacks that lived there couldn't call out for help.
E.R. Bills is the author of the book, The 1910 Slocum Massacre, Enacted Genocide in East Texas. He's researched several massacres in the state and country as a journalist.
It was sort of shocking. I didn't know anything like that had ever happened in Texas. And just the fact also that it apparently had been covered up was sort of a shock to me.
The Slocum Massacre is believed to have been the result of hatred against the black citizens who were doing well in the community at the time. Bill says also an awful rumor had been circulating that the black community was going to rise and kill their white neighbors.
But it scared the white people enough that they took their kids and their wives and put them in churches and left white men outside to defend, reportedly, and then they went on a killing spree.
The official death count is listed as 8, although it's believed 200 to 300 black East Texans were killed in those 3 days. One of the victims was Alex Hawley. Constance Hawley Joaid is a descendant of the Hawley family. Her great-great-great-grandfather was Jack Hawley, a survivor of the massacre.
Jack Hawley, who was the primary landowner and the owner of the only general store and many other businesses in Slocum at that time, and who was the primary target during the massacre. I am his great-great-great-granddaughter.
In the early 1900s, Jack Hawley was a successful businessman, which is not easy for someone enslaved until they were 19.
He started using his skills and his talents to make money for himself instead of the European, structure of chattel slavery. And so he did that just a bit too well. He owned a general store, a granary, a dairy.
Hawley survived the genocide, but was forced to flee his Slocum home and move to Palestine. He lost a son in the massacre and many, many relatives.
Having to lose a child and having a child shot and wounded like that, I can't imagine what that feels like. I have 2 children and I don't want to think about that. But it is something that many African parents, African American parents, black parents are dealing with today, with their children being killed when they're not even armed, shot in the back or shot with not even being aggressive, innocently shot. So 1910 to 2021, 111 years later, the same things are happening.